Okay, guys, we got some popcorn, some M&Ms, and drinks, and we're about to watch the show. And as soon as the show's over, we'll do a review for you. See you guys in a little bit. Another recap / our opinion episode. We've just watched the second episode of the season, and so here we go. So let's see. Okay, so let's start with the two that we met last week, and then we'll kind of end with the new dad. Okay, so first we'll start with Mike and Mikey. And Valine. So, it turns out we found out something new that we didn't know about, was that the fact that they all had only talked for a month before meeting. So, we clearly, now more than before, think that it was because of the show. Like, to meet and spend the summer together after a month is kind of okay. That was kind of fast.
Quick, but I mean, everybody to each their own and how fast they really want to move. But I probably have thought of it. I do think the show probably only shows you part of the picture and wants to put in the stuff they think is going to be the biggest hit that will draw the most attention. Yeah. So you don't really see everything that always happens, but
yeah. So first we see Mikey and Valine, and he arranges a date night for them, and he has his cousin to babysit Mikey, and the cousin's late, and so he doesn't want to lose the reservations that he had worked to get, so he says, let's take Mikey with us. And Valine seems to be like, oh, that's not really what she wanted. But they take him. Mm-hmm. And then the cousin shows up at the restaurant to take him. And then they're able to continue the date. And it seems like a very successful date.
Yeah.
In all intents and purposes. And then what I did think was interesting is that, like, in last week's episode, he had given her own room, and then he was sharing a room with Mikey, and then he said he's very open with his son, and he lets him know what's going to happen, and he had said to Mikey before the date that, you know, you may wake up, and I may not be in here, I may be in Valine's room, and is that okay, and how do you feel about that, and
yeah. I mean, and that's good. I mean, he's being, like you said, being open with his son, and so that he knows where his dad is if he needs him.
Yeah, and he's not scared. And it's again, I'm a dad first, which I think that's what he said somewhere. I think in the first episode, I'm a dad first. He has to know that, you know, because his son was his top priority. So I did think that was really cute. And then so they had the date, and then I guess it was the next day or whenever the next little clip of them. It shows that they go like on a family date and they go play mini golf, and he's like, yeah, we're really competitive, and he says Mikey somehow always wins, and then Mikey says, I'm gonna let her win because she's a girl. It was like, oh.
He said, I'm gonna help her win because I'm a gentleman.
Oh yes, okay, my bad. But that was really cute. That was cute. It's like, you're 5. What are you doing? Any comments that you have to say? Oh, they did mention that they were moving kind of fast.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to be moving kind of fast, and still, in my opinion, I think it's more on the attraction side for what the show is showing.
Yeah.
That, you know, I don't think she really, what it entails for having a child or starting off in a family. I think, yes, she definitely wants her alone time with Mike. And, but, there's going to be those times where you're going to have to do stuff as a family, and then every once in a while you can have your single date nights where it's just y'all two.
And there's going to be times the babysitter's not going to be there. And it was interesting because, like, we were talking during the commercials, and it was like, okay, is it TLC that's portraying her as kind of this person that's as iffy as around the kids, or is that really her personality? Because there were a couple times where it was like,
I think I don't know if they're doing that or not, but sometimes I've always kind of said that I can be pretty good at reading body language.
Yeah.
And when they show her on camera talking about it, her body language to me says that she's just not really. It's probably going to take some work and some time to get her to that level.
Or she's more interested in Mikey and Mike, not just Mike.
Or just more or less being as a family and not.
That's true.
Not just wanting to be with him.
That's true. That's true. Okay, so my phone just locked up and now won't let me back in. Okay, so then next, this one got interesting. Okay, so we left Jake and Amy as in the conversation had ended in the car.
Mm-hmm. And it was awkward.
Yeah.
They had dead silence.
And then when we started back up, the conversation got going, and they were talking about the humidity and stuff like that. So they got the conversation going. Okay, so then they walked in the house, and she found out that his house was actually in a basement.
I think it's in the basement. If I should have rewound the show to find out, but I want to know for sure. But I thought it says it's in the basement of his parents' house.
That could be it.
And I'm not for sure if that's the story or not. But
yeah, well, anyway, so
I should have rewound it to find out.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. So, okay, so it's in a basement, and, like, she goes in, and she was, like, wasn't really sure about it. She goes in, and it's really nice down there. And, she wasn't so sure how things were going to be, but it looks like he had put all 3 kids in one room so that he had his room, and she would have her room, so that she wasn't having to immediately share a room. Because, I mean, you've only been talking to somebody online for a month. That would be really, really awkward to have to share a room with them. So, that was really nice that all the kids were sharing temporarily so that that didn't have to get awkward. But anyway, so his oldest daughter, who's 11, was complaining that she was sick, and everybody pretty much said she's faking it. And it was understandable, and Amy was really understanding about it. She's like, maybe she just needed her dad time and everything. She's probably just as scared and nervous about this as I am. But the dad takes her to the doctor, and then Amy's left with
the 2 kids by herself.
Yeah.
And I was saying already, like, dude, come on. It's the same day you just brought her down and you're just leaving her with the kids.
Yeah, and so she's like, at first it was like, deer in the headlights moment. And then she, I guess, orders pizza. And then she's trying to think of something to do because she wants to get to know the kids. She wants to get on their good side. And so she decides to play video games with them. And she's like, I haven't played video games since I was like 12. But I think that's really good because something that the kids already like to do. So you're investing in something they like to do, and it's a good way to warm up with them and do something that's not so intense. Yeah. And it's something that they can teach her to do. So it's like the children are teaching an adult something to do. Yeah. So that was actually really, really cool. Okay, so then they go out on a date, and they were on this trail, and I forgot what it was called, where this area was. But they went on this trail, and so they go to sit down.
Have a picnic.
Yeah. And he just lays it out there. And he said he's really good about making situations more awkward.
I would agree to that. I mean, But and he lays it out, saying, just pretty much asks her like, so how do you feel about, having kids in your future or in your life, or do you plan on having kids in your life at some point? And she said yes, and then he just flat out says, I had a vasectomy.
And then she was like stunned.
Yeah.
And she's like, I kind of wish he would have said something before I would have come out. And I was kind of at that same point, like, that's something you mentioned before, not later, and like kind of let her make the decision. But again, that could have been the show saying, hey, don't say that, or
make it a little interesting.
Yeah, or that could have been him saying it. Maybe that's something you say in person, not online. I don't know. Anyway, that one.
Then he goes and just they go to leave and stands her up and just goes in to kiss her, and it was an awkward.
Oh
kiss.
yeah. Oh yeah.
But she says that she was glad that he did it, but it was still kind of
like the body language.
It was caught off guard, and it was just kind of like an awkward.
Yeah, the body language. Her body language was definitely easy to read there, because it was like, oh, it's a little awkward. Like, you just threw this at me, and then you want to kiss me. I'm sorry, that one was awkward. Okay, so then,
Then it leaves where he comes and says that he was going to the gym, and he goes to the gym supposedly, or where it says, and he hasn't returned and has been gone. And she comes to her, it's like he's been gone for over 2 hours now. Then it shows at 1:30 in the morning, still not back. 2:30 in the morning, still not back, and she's vlogging or doing a recording and saying that she's this close from leaving and going back home. And then it just kind of ends right there, and it says, next episode, how things will play out. So
yeah, it's like,
see that preview.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Like, how do you explain where you've been and why you didn't, like, why are you leaving your kids with somebody you barely even know yourself? Or what were you doing? Like, you can't call?
Yeah.
Like, because my first thought is something happened. So that's going to be interesting to see what is his excuse for not calling, not coming, not... Anyway, that's interesting. Okay, so the new the new dad is Jason. He's 45. The girl he's talking to online is Sarah. She's 29. She's from Austin. Boop, boop. Somebody from Texas. Okay, so she's kind of an interesting character. She lived in Japan for 6 years. She seems very quirky, independent. She seems like that fun person to get to know. She, let's see. She said she didn't have like an interest in having kids of her own or being pregnant or anything. So she was absolutely cool with meeting somebody who already had kids.
Yeah.
She liked, weird video games, older video games, horror movies. She was just an all-around different kind of person. And I think for him, because he was a little on the quirky side too, like, they were just, to me, they seemed like the perfect match right away. Okay, so he had 2 teenagers, which
kind of goes alongside with us. I mean, they're 14 and 12. He has both girls, but in our case, we have a teenage girl and a 11-year-old son.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be interesting to see their storyline too, as it's just now getting started with them. So.
Yeah.
But their mom, their biological mom, is not in the picture, but
yeah, and she was in the military. And she's been stationed over there quite a few times. And so I think that's how he got primary custody. Yeah. And then he lived in Indiana. And he was a criminal defense lawyer. And that's why he did online dating.
Yeah.
And that kind of threw us both. Like, you just have to see. But, I mean...
Yeah. he's a criminal defense attorney and for felony cases, and so he does a lot of he's very busy with that, and he's got a lot of tattoos and he's got the cut. He's kind of the punk rock type and likes horror movies, the hard rock and everything. So you come to saying a criminal defense attorney, and it's like you don't see that, but then he kind of put his suit on and all. You've seen his slick back hair, but to each his own. His tattoos were pretty much mainly covered up and stuff like that.
But to have a hard job like that too, you would have to be able to wind down to. So that was kind of interesting. Now, he had a girlfriend for 7 years that he had never married, but that had kind of stepped in as the mom in the girl's life. And they had broken up 2 years before, but she still remained very active in the girls' lives, and the girls called her mom. And he still referred to her as the mom. Yeah. And so, during the commercials we were talking, I was like, that still sounds similar to us. I was like, to have somebody that's still very active in the girls' lives, that comes and picks them up, that, helps them with homework, that, they still communicate all the time, would be like the birth mom still being involved, or having a grandmother that stepped in and stepped up to the plate to help, having an aunt that stepped in, stepped up, having a friend, having somebody in the picture. And I can see for Sarah how that can, and it will, I mean, it's not going to happen, is going to be difficult, because it's not that you're competing for love or you're wanting to take away, but in a way you have that new challenge, that you're kind of that new person stepping into their lives, and everybody's going to have to find their place.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be really awkward. And she
seems to have hit it off pretty good with the kids talking online.
And the girls had said that they were going to give her a chance.
Yeah.
So I think that is good. They said, what was the ex's name? I don't remember the ex's name, but that was mom, and they didn't want to replace mom, but that they were going to give her a chance. And she seemed to connect well with them, because it seemed like they had all of them had a lot in common.
Yeah.
So that was cool too. I think that's going to help her.
And both of them have a secret that they haven't told each other.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so he hadn't told Sarah about the ex, and she hasn't told him that she's actually bisexual.
Yeah.
So that one's going to get interesting.
Yeah, that'll get interesting for the next show and stuff. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how and still have a couple of more dads that need to make their appearance or for the show, and see how their summer goes.
Yeah, because there's 2 more dads to introduce, and then to see just how everything works out and how everything goes. It's going to be interesting.
I think so.
I think it's going to be a jam-packed season.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to watching it. It's very good.
Yep. So, basically, those are our thoughts about the new show. Again, I don't think I didn't even want to meet you after a month. Because, we've talked for a while before we met. Like 2.5 months before we met.
Yeah.
But, to each his own. It's interesting.
But after we met, it was still dated, or we kind of hung out, went on a couple of dates and there, and before we made it official, and then it was still even time after that before I brought my kids into it and stuff like that. So. But
then, and I do understand where Valine said we don't have all year. we have the summer. Where Valine was talking, and she was like, it's not like we have all year. We have the summer. So I guess it does make sense. You'd move a lot faster. Anyway, that's our thoughts. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them down below. Let's get some talking going, guys. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.